Now, let's bring it home to Nigeria. UNICEF says that Boko Haram militants have abducted over 1,000 children in the northeast since 2013. Now, what's your thoughts on this report, and how should the Nigerian government react to it?
No doubt, children have been major victims in all of this crisis that has been going on of insurgency in the northeast. So many of them have been killed, apart from even the thousands, the 1,000, over 1,000 that have been, abducted. But I want to believe also, I believe that about thousands have also been killed in the process. And that is the nature of some of these conflicts. They do not have respect for either gender or the age of, people that are affected by it. It's discriminatory. It's indiscriminatory in nature. And like I said, children have been victims of it. And it is exceedingly very, very unfortunate that we've gotten to a situation where the security forces have found it very difficult, even up to now, to stem the tide of the insurgency, in as much as the government, the federal authorities have kept on telling us, together with the army authorities, that they have been able to significantly degrade the Boko Haram, insurgents and all of that. But the fact that whenever they make these statements, they tend to come up with very bold, actions that tend to undermine the statement that is coming out from the federal government. So it is very, very unfortunate. A lot of schools have been closed down, and then, and they continue to face all kinds of threats to their lives. And it's unfortunate, really, but the government needs to do much more with regards to the vulnerable, that is essentially the children in the northeast.
Now, finally, tomorrow, April 14, marks 4 years since the Chibok girls were kidnapped. Over 100 of them are still in captivity. To secure their release, when it took the federal government about 1 month to secure the release of the Deportee.
In a way, it is inexplicable. I also do not understand that. I know that it's been about 4 years, so the possibility of recovery, it will not be as easy as it was with the Deportee, girls. Of course, there are all kinds of stories surrounding the Chibok girls about some of them, having been married off to some of the terrorists and all of that. So some of them have had kids. For some of these terrorists. And so I think in a way that would also make it very difficult. I don't know the inclination of some of these ladies, some of these young girls now, if they actually want to return home because of their circumstances. So I can't exactly say why that is. Unfortunately, the government is not giving us enough information about some of the, and that's taking organizations like the Bring Back Our Girls to continually bring the matter, to the front burner. And I think the media has also done well to making sure that the issue is not forgotten. Now, with regards to I also do not want to believe that the government is placing a higher priority or premium on recovery of the Deportee girls because they happened under the administration. Government is a continuum, and these girls are our citizens, and the government had a duty to protect these girls. So unfortunately, we were not able to protect them. So we must take it upon ourselves to do everything possible to try and recover them for those ones that can still be recovered.
All right, Mr. Chikechiri, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
A South African woman accused of faking illness by UK immigration officials to avoid being put on a deportation plane has died. The UK's Guardian newspaper says Nancy Motsamai and her husband Fusi had been in the UK for more than 10 years but ran into difficulties when they applied to renew their visa. On March 7th, they were told that they would be forcibly removed from the UK that day, but when they were taken to the Heathrow airport, the wife collapsed in the corridor. The next morning, they were put in detention that night. The next morning, they were released, but she collapsed and died of pulmonary embolism 5 days later in the UK on March the 12th. The UK Home Office says it will be investigated. So let's get more on this story from an immigration lawyer in the UK, Mr. Dayo Fadino. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thanks for having me.
Now, what do you make of the case of Nancy Motsamai, who died 5 days after being accused of feigning illness to avoid deportation?
The case of Nancy Motsamai is a very, very sad and unfortunate one, really. My strong view on this is that no human being should actually go through this kind of treatment, particularly the fact that the Immigration Office were accusing this poor lady who is now dead of faking illness in order not to be deported. Now, this type of treatment, immigrants in the it's been going on for so many years now, at least in the last, 5 to 10 years, and it's unacceptable. It cannot continue this way. These people are human beings. I think the Home Office believe against this poor citizen, this poor immigrants, is the fact that they have overstayed or that they do not have any papers, and they actually advised the immigration officer who was in charge of this poor lady that she should not be in detention because she was ill. The immigration officer ignored that very particular advice and still detained this woman for a while. She was released afterwards. She has that right to, not be tortured or to be treated inhumanly or, or suffer punishment. But she was in detention whilst ill. Itself is a breach of our human rights as a human being,
So let me interrupt you there. What legal steps can the husband take to get justice for his wife?
Well, if it's the case that an immigration officer ignored the advice of a nurse who advised the immigration officer the woman is not fit to be in detention. If that was the case, of course, I could start looking into the possibility of suing of that very particular immigration officer. It's totally wrong. It was totally wrong for him to have the advice of a professional. And I would advise the husband very, very strongly that he seeks proper legal advice on the possibility of actually suing the Home Office for negligence.
Now, finally, the UK Home Office has referred the case to the Independent Prisons and Probation Ombudsman for investigation. Are you optimistic that this investigation will be free and fair and without bias?
Well, as much as I would want to believe that this very particular ombudsman for prisons and particular ombudsman would be independent and not biased, when we actually look at the antecedents and the track record of deportees, and nothing much done about such deaths in detention, I would not hold my breath at all on whether this very particular independent body would not be biased.
Mr. Fadino, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa. Still to come on the program, our Africa Tech segment takes a look at how technology can be used to boost security in Algeria. Please stay with us.